Good afternoon. Welcome to the Elf Hangout. Today I'm going to walk us through a few different kinds of holiday decor. I'm Penny Stewart. I'm with the Gananoque Horticultural Society. It's getting that time of year that all our fall planters, all our gardens are at the end of the season. So do not despair. We can spruce things up really quickly. I'm going to show you how to do an urn insert for the type of large urns that I have. This one a week ago was full of petunias and all kinds of goodies. The soil's damp, which is rather important because once you put your greens in and it turns cold, you do want these to freeze. If the soil is dry and you get a wind, everything will blow away. Found that out by trial and error the first year I was here 30 years ago. Everything blew off my porch. So I have collected a variety of greens: pine, cedar, spruce, blue spruce. That's about it. And we're going to combine all of those to give us a green background. Grab a selection here. The principle is the same as in flower arranging. Make sure that the height matches the container. This container is going into an urn which is thigh height, so it means I'm going to go a little extra tall so it matches my container. Extra material at the bottom, oh, hold on to that. We've got things we can do with it. So we start out by determining about how tall, and we're going to create a shape. I'm doing this assuming that this urn is going up against my garage wall, so I really only need to do it from the front and the sides. I'm not doing an around. If you're doing an urn that's sitting somewhere where people can walk around it, then you do have to pay a little more attention to the back of the urn. The idea, figure out roughly how big you want it. This is going to depend on the space. This is going to go in between my garage doors where there's lots of space. White pine, it's lovely material. It's very soft, so it needs something like spruce to give it a bit of support. If you just had white pine in here, it would kind of flop. Any bits and bobs, you can tuck in the back just to fill the back in a little bit. This is regular blue spruce, or regular spruce. I do have a bit of blue spruce. I'm going to reserve the blue spruce for the front of the container because blue spruce is always a lot more difficult to come across. So, tricks. Cut on an angle so you have a pointy piece, and make sure you anchor it well into your potting mix. This is just my leftover potting mix from the summer because I'm going to change it up next spring, so I might as well use it for the rest of this season. Going to create just a nice mixture of greens so that when the snow flies, which it actually was the other day here, we have a little bit of everything to catch the snow and reflect the beauty of winter. This is a piece of cedar, the bottom piece, tuck it in the back. So we take a look. That's not looking too bad. But I think a nice piece of blue spruce would give it a little bit of an unusual color. You can see the blue spruce, the gray blue. When you add that in, it just gives you a little different color tone. Just adds to it. A couple little pieces I'll tuck in the sides. So, okay, so we have our basic shape. It's a basic mask design. what can we do to dress it up further? Well, I've collected a number of things. I have lots of hydrangea out of the garden. Some of it I have given a little bit of a coat of paint to. So I'm going to start this one out with just a little bit gold hydrangea. Now the hydrangeas, if you are in a spot with really high winds, they might take a bit of a beating, but for a good portion of the holiday season, they'll look just fine. They just give some other texture to an arrangement. Other things I found out and about in the ditches. This is Ellen Camp. It grows, has a lovely yellow sunny flower on it. You'll see it all over the place in the ditches this time of year. I've just put a little touch of gold spray paint on it. The other things you can use are teasel, milkweed, which is a little hard to come by these days, milkweed. I didn't find an awful lot of it, as a matter of fact. So, at this point, it's looking quite natural. You can decide on what your theme or feel is. You can do these all in natural materials. This is red dogwood, again from the side of the roads. So if you want an arrangement that's quite natural looking, then you stick with natural things like a natural colored pine cone. Or if you're more into making this a bit more festive, you add your color. I use fake berries. You can get Canada holly if you have a swamp near you. I haven't found any Canada holly yet this year. And the only thing about Canada holly is if it falls on the ground and it gets stepped on, it stains. And never bring Canada holly in the house, or you will stain your floors, your tablecloths. So there's different varieties of little red berry stuff out there. Raid the dollar stores. At this point, I've purchased a couple pieces of berry, so it's not going to be an expensive arrangement. If you really like glitter and you're into glitter, again, all of this stuff is available in dollar stores and fairly inexpensive. So I'm just going to tuck a little bit in the front. So you see all the textures we're building up here? We've got shapes, textures. They all come together to give us an interesting look. Pine cones, I have rafts of them. I have a friend with a pine tree. She brings me her pine cones every year, and I throw a little paint on them, and voila, pine cones. As far as the color scheme goes here, I'm kind of sticking with the reds and the golds here. Again, dollar store find. Little Mr. Cardinal on top, poking out. Christmas decorations. This is the best way to do them. Do them up in advance, do a bunch. These are barbecue skewers and a little bit of hot glue. So it makes it very easy just to add some small decorations. You can do the same thing with larger ones, or larger decorations are easy to wire on. I'm just going over to my treasure trove here. Of decorations. Tools of the trade: secateurs, scissors, needle nose pliers, and something that cuts wire. I'm just going to use very fine, this is very fine wire again, uncoated and coated wire. Coated wire is a little heavier, and for some of the other projects it's a little more useful. But just this plain wire, little piece of wire through our Christmas bauble, and we can make our own like Christmas hooks, right? So we can add a Christmas hook, add a little bauble, pick your colors. Everybody has a favorite color scheme. Just gonna move this one through here. Whoops, that one didn't work. Okay, well, we must have at least one more gold bauble. Here we go. Right here. Snip, turn, find a nice spot, clip it on. So, with a little bit of decor a la Dollarama or your other favorite local dollar store, you could easily make an urn insert. A ribbon. No decor is finished until we put a nice ribbon on. So I'm going to pull off a good 8 feet of ribbon, give or take. Not too exact here. Fold it in half. Start in the middle and make your loops. Now, depending on how big the ribbon is, you can judge how many loops. So there, I've got a nice looped ribbon. Okay, wire. This wire is my best friend. I'm going to use a little bit of the heavier wire for this. Just go around the center of your bow, turn it, and always twist in. If you're wiring pine cones, if you're wiring, there you go. That's not going to go anywhere. You pull your bow apart. That just gives you a little bit more color. And in terms of putting it on, there are a number of options. Just a piece of twig will do. Just add another little twig. So wire your ribbon to a twig. You can wire it to a stick, whatever you have handy. So there's our bow, a little bit of greens. And I'm thinking maybe right about there. So there's your urn insert. Cost you maybe $5 worth of goodies from the dollar store. And if you're like me, you buy them end of season, put them in a box, and you're all set to go for next year. What else can we do that's fun, easy? I'm going to set this one aside. How about a door swag? Right? You see these? You know, they're $25, $30 if you get them professionally made. An arrangement like this is going to go for $75 or $80, and like I said, you can do it for $5 and driving up and down a few back roads. And check for cleanup days in town. All of the greens you see here came from Glengarry Avenue in Kingston. A friend called, said, Everybody's got their trees out. Come on in. There's pine, there's spruce, go over to Aberfoyle. There's a blue spruce they took down on Aberfoyle. So I just went around and filled my car up full of greens. This happens every year. Okay, a door swag. This is an easy one to make, and it also makes a great gift. Every year, people come, they see my door swags, and they say, "Oh, where did you find the beautiful door swag?" And I say, "Oh, well, I made it." "Oh, you made it?" I said, "Yeah." Very, very simple. Then I explain the process. 4 or 5 pieces of your favorite greens. The flatter ones on the bottom, like the spruce. Put a little bit of cedar on top because it kind of gives you that nice finish. Tiny bit of pine. You hold it all together. I just trim it up a bit. Lay flat. Again, our heavy green wire. Cut yourself an ample piece because we're going to do the hanger at the same time. So you take your piece of wire, grab your greens, leave yourself a tail at the back because that's going to become your loop. Wrap around and really pull tight. About 3 times till you have your 2 tails at the back. Again, the trick is twist in. That tightens the wire around all the greens so they don't go anywhere. Now, we have a loop left. Braid it, and there's your hanger for the door. Automatically built in. We're going to decorate it. Same features here. Let's find some berries. The beauty of these particular berries is you can pull the individual berries off like this, and then just weave them on where you want them. So we're just going to weave a little bit of color here and there. And these berries also come in gold and silver. I just haven't found any gold and silver ones yet this year. I kind of like the red. Kind of gives you that nice pop of color that you want. So add as many berries as you feel like adding. And then we want some more color. We can add pine cones. Got lots of pine cones. One of my favorites is bells. Somewhere I have some bells. Oh, there they are. These are great because when you open the door, they jingle. So, piece of wire on our jingle bells. Put the jingle bells sort of center here. And again, just lightly wire them on. You just want to make sure that nothing's going to fall off every time you open and close the door. One of the other things that's very nice on door wreaths that you have in a door that's in between your storm door and your outside door, if you can find them or you want to make them, these are pine cones that are infused with cedar and a bit of cinnamon. Cloves are another nice thing. If you can infuse clove oil onto pine cones, then when you add the pine cones, every time you open the door, you'll get this lovely waft of cedar in between your doors. Wiring pine cones, we'll show you on a big pine cone so it's easier. Fairly good size, don't chintz on the wire. Pull it into the pine cone, your 2 tails, and turn in. Just keep turning, it'll tighten up. Voila, pine cone. You can do that with all sizes of pine cones. And you can do this in advance, you know, do up a whole bunch of pine cones while you're sitting watching Netflix. I'm going to wire the pine cone on here. This is the pine cone I did purchase. It's obviously not local. It looks like a Georgian or North Carolina style of pine. They get these lovely big cones. But there, we'll add a pine cone because that's going to smell really, really nice. Ribbon. We're on a red gold bow thing here. How about a red ribbon? We'll put a ribbon on. You can add other things like little Christmas, if you have a Christmas ornament. I did some up last year to give to people with kids. And when I did the door swag, I included a little Christmas animal. So the kids could have the animal and the door swag could go up. So this is also grandkids. This is something that you can do with your grandkids. Very, very easy. Okay, I always kind of go by my height times 2. Usually gives me roughly what I want. Now, you'll notice on this one, you can't see the twigs. I'll next show you how to disguise the twigs. So let's get a nice, bright, red bow. That says holidays. A little bit lopsided, that's okay. You'll just even it up. Dollar store wire. This is in the garden section. So every spring I grab 2 or 3 rolls of dollar store wire. Use it for everything in the garden. And because it's coated, it's easy on your hands and it turns really well. So there's our nice big red bow we're going to put on here. But before we put the bow on, let's cover up the twigs. If you like the twig look, leave it plain. If you don't, we're just going to take a few little pieces of the same greens that we used to make our door swag. There's a piece of cedar, little piece of cedar, a little bit of spruce. We gather it all together, about this big. We're going to use a little piece of the fine wire, long scissors, and wire it up. Again, always leaving a bit of a tag at the end, a tail, twist in. You're going to take your tail, you're going to place your little extra bits of greens right there, wire it on to itself, and there, you've now covered up the top of your door swag. So it looks just a little more finished. There's our bow. We've left a really good tail there. Again, little force and turn in, turn in, turn in, turn in. Use these scissors because they do a better job. A pair of wire cutters is also a handy tool. So there we go. Now you can dress this up as fancy as you want, but there we go, a door swag. Again, $2 or $3 at the dollar store, 3 or 4 pieces of pine, and you're off to the races. One of our fall planters that I've taken out the flowers, there were marigolds in here. Kale will survive, as will Dusty Miller, and they give you a nice texture. The peppers, I'm not too sure about, but let's leave them in there anyhow. No harm. We're going to add some greens, just to change this up a little bit. We'll put a few greens in, and we'll turn it around so you can see. add some greens. We have our other textures. We can add a little bit of color. We can put in, let's put in just a little bit of glitter, just to dress it up a bit. A bow. I'll use a pre-made bow. We'll go over bow making when we get to some of our other projects. You add a bow, and there's your fall planter, now converted into a winter planter. And again, add whatever you like. If you have a little winter creature, you can add your winter creature. You can add pine cones. I have all kinds of pine cones, different colors. So there's 2 examples of planters. From our existing planters, we've just converted them to holiday planters. So get out there, have some fun. Happy decorating.